The Japanese Grand Prix plays host to round 9 of the 2023 Formula One season, and with now only 3 rounds to go and a mere 4 points covering the top 3 drivers, tensions are rising in the paddock. Van Dorn and Jaguar seemed most determined to go well around Suzuka on Friday, following their crushing blow to their championship hopes last time out in Canada. The British outfit are still confident their car has potentially become the overall best car in race conditions, but will need luck on their side to turn the tide after Van Dorn's DNF. Audi face a challenge when it comes to limiting the damage here at Suzuka, with Sector 1 proving difficult for the team despite their best efforts to close the gap aerodynamically to the other teams. Sainz has praised his team, however, saying, quote, "The time we're losing in the corners would have been much worse without the constant upgrades we've been getting, so it's now my turn to try and repay them and try my best to drag the car up the order." Red Bull and McLaren, on the other hand, look to have very strong race cars, with both teams sharing similar pace throughout Friday, but the real show stealer was Pierre Gasly, looking blisteringly quick over one lap, and despite his title hopes being in tatters this season, still looks determined to be a spanner in the works for the likes of his old rivals, Sainz and Aarava. Both Porsche and Renault brought further upgrades to Suzuka, with Porsche still looking to fix their race pace, which has sent Wehrlein backwards in recent races. Renault, on the other hand, continue to try and add overall speed to their car and are very encouraged by the numbers they're seeing. Japan has played host to some fantastic finales over the years in F1 MyDriver, and this weekend it could play a key role in the championship fight, with the next race being the penultimate round of the 2023 season. With only 3 opportunities remaining to score points in the 2023 championship, every position matters in qualifying, and while he might not be in contention for the Drivers' Championship, Pierre Gasly starts from pole position and hopes to elevate Red Bull in the Constructors' standings. He was a shocking 3/10 quicker than Van Dorn in P2. The second Jag of Alexander Albon was less than half a tenth off his teammate and gets the best starting position of the season in P3, and crucially starts ahead of the leading McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo. Row 3 is where we find the first of the true championship contenders, with Antonio Giovinazzi putting his Red Bull in 5th position. He's starting alongside the second McLaren of aarava, both drivers within 5/10 of pole. Pascal Wehrlein put his Porsche on the 4th row and will be hoping to score some solid points after a disappointing outing in Canada. He's joined by the man who is currently second in the standings, Carlos Sainz. Former teammates Charles Leclerc and Mick Schumacher round out the top 10, with the Monegasque ahead of the German, and both of them the leading driver for their respective teams in today's race. Having just missed out on Q3 by less than a tenth, Lando Norris will start from P11 in his Porsche. He's joined on row 6 by the second Mercedes of George Russell. The leading BMW of Sergio Perez will start from 13th position, but was only 4/1000th of a second quicker than the leading Renault of Lundgaard, both drivers about 9/10 off the ultimate pace. After going 6th quickest in Canada, we thought the Saturday woes were over for the Audi of Vettel, but he ended up being slowest in Q2, while the Aston Martin of Chadwick gets her best start since Germany on row 8. The second Aston of Callum Ilott starts P17, with the second Renault of Esteban Ocon alongside him, and Aitken starts P19, but only a tenth slower than Vettel in P15, while Max Verstappen struggled massively, nearly 2/10 slower than the BMW ahead of him.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 MyDriver Career Mode Season number 9, round 9 today for the Japanese Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Canadian GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A scintillating race around Montreal, and spoiler alert, in the end we came away with our very first win of this season to get us right into the thick of it with the championship battle, with, at the moment, it looks like Antonio Giovinazzi and Carlos Sainz. And with only 3 rounds left, I think pretty much now you can say those are our 3 championship contenders, myself, Sainz and Giovinazzi. Surprising, obviously, as we thought maybe Gasly would be involved again. Van Dorn probably would have been involved had it not been for that DNF last time out. He is right up there at the sharp end though here, so Jaguar still not resting and still trying to fight as best they can, and they seem to be almost the best car out there overall, you know, from quali to the race really. But obviously Red Bull, us at McLaren and Audi have kind of got the rub of the green compared compared to them, but to say that obviously took us a while to get that first win, but we've got it, and now we're right there. Obviously in qualifying though around Suzuka, a little bit lower than we were wanting compared to my teammate, but actually to be fair with that, Giovinazzi only just ahead of me and Sainz only 2 places behind, so actually the championship contenders are all quite bunched together, and it's really at the sharp end is Gasly trying to still prove that he's got what it takes to maybe win finally in F1 MyDriver. It's been a long while since Gasly's had a race where he hasn't pretty much had bad luck or anything like that involved in it, but Japan has historically been another great circuit in F1 MyDriver. Of course, it's been host to some cracking finales in this series, but today it plays host to the third last round of this season, so it's going to be setting up the last 2 episodes of this career. And like the last few races, there will be some tire wear involved here around Suzuka, so strategies may differ car to car. We'll just have to see about that, but we line up then in P6, ready to go for the third last race here today at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. We go to 5 red lights, and we are off and on the way. It's a good start there for Antonio Giovinazzi up ahead of us, as well as Pascal Wehrlein on our left-hand side. We're down to P7. Ricciardo goes defensive as well into turn 1. Bit of wheel bang gone in between Wehrlein and Ricciardo. Gasly's kept it cool though at the sharp end and still leads the way from the Jaguar car of Stoffel Van Dorn, I believe that is. Albon though side by side with Giovinazzi. Look at Gio go. He's almost up into P4. He might do as he goes round the outside. Meanwhile, we're just keeping ahead of Carlos Sainz as we go up the hill, looking to maybe make a jump on Wehrlein. He's a little bit slow behind Ricciardo, so here we go down the inside of the right-hander. So fine there, and Wehrlein dipping a tyre into the gravel. I think that might have been as we're up into P6. Gio unable to get P4 there, but he's had a cracking start from P5 to jump my teammate through the S section in Sector 1 and had a go at the Jaguar car, but we made some good progress to re-overtake Wehrlein after a slow start. They're always awkward at turn 1, Suzuka, especially when there's so many cars trying to go side by side and going for the same piece of tarmac here. But at the moment you can see in the distance Gasly looking comfortable in P1. He's looked electric this entire weekend from Friday all the way through to obviously qualifying there, so not surprised, but the Jaguar car quite close behind. Meanwhile, we've got Giovinazzi down the inside, and that's Van Dorn, I believe. So it's actually Albon who is the lead Jaguar in this race in second place, as now there's been some contact made between Van Dorn and Ricciardo. An end plate went off there. I think that was Ricciardo's. Yes, it is on the front right. So Ricciardo's got some damage. Can we get past our teammate at a crucial point? We can't get held up by him too much here, because otherwise we'll slow up far too much. So we're going to try and go round the outside. It's Van Dorn's round, and we've been pushed towards Van Dorn, and that could have been horrendous T-bone. And there's a massive collision behind Van Dorn out of the Japanese Grand Prix, and he's collected Lando Norris. I think there was some contact made also between him and Carlos Sainz, and this full course safety car is out, and it's because of this. Van Dorn a little bit too eager into turn 1, tried to get Giovinazzi. He then got T-boned somewhat by Carlos Sainz and then got pile drived by Lando Norris on the left-hand side. But look at this onboard here. Ricciardo pretty much steers left and pushes me towards Van Dorn. So the live flash before my eyes, I almost had the worst crash I could have had in this entire season with Van Dorn there. Just a little twitch to the left, was able to kind of dart around that, but that was so fine. And so here, under the safety car, Ricciardo is in, Sainz is in as well. Both will have to make a front wing change and tyre change, so that changes everything. So now, I was thinking of maybe doing a 2-stop, 2 sets of soft tyres, but now with the safety car, it might be worth stretching this first stint and going for the 1-stop onto mediums rather, because now Ricciardo and Sainz, they've pit for one more time. Don't know what tyres they've gone on to, but as we go on to green, that safety car has maybe just changed things here. But first and foremost, can we try and get past Pascal Wehrlein? Thankfully, no damage on my car despite all the action we've had so far, but try my best down the inside. Doesn't work. Meanwhile, up ahead, look at Albon trying a move on Gasly as we try and send it to the inside of my old teammate from seasons 2 and 3, but Wehrlein gets the elbows out there. He's determined to do well in this race, it would seem. But meanwhile, that was Gasly pressurised for P1 from Albon yet again, but Gasly soaks up the pressure and maintains the P1. Meanwhile, now we're looking at overtaking Wehrlein if we can to the inside of 130. We'll go to be very fine margins here. A little lift off there to make sure we give him the room, and he gives us the room as well, to be fair, on the inside, and we're up into P4, and you can see still going on is a battle between Giovinazzi, Albon and Gasly. Looks like Gio though is closer to overtaking Albon. Then Albon is overtaking Gasly as we now move on towards lap number 6. And Wehrlein coming back at us now on the right-hand side. We're going to try and pinch him towards turn 1. Hopefully he backs out of that. Meanwhile, up ahead, Albon off circuit. It looks like it's been pushed wide by Giovinazzi. And so it's a 1-2 for Red Bull. The two Red Bulls really looking to kind of punch their authority in this Grand Prix. So they lead the way. And Albon looking a little bit stricken here, limping through the spoon curve. So I wonder if there was some contact made, some damage on that Jaguar car. Already one of the Jaguars out this Grand Prix. So it might be going from bad to worse for the British Racing Green outfit as we go round the outside at 130R. Wehrlein boxed in behind Albon. I think there definitely is some damage, so we can maybe try and push away from that pack behind us. Try and close up to these two Red Bull cars. There's actually Gasly in second place, so Giovinazzi somewhere actually jumped Gasly. Didn't even see that there. So Gasly coming back at Giovinazzi. Obviously their own agendas here. Gasly looking for his first race win in this season, whereas Giovinazzi in a title fight, and so that could be quite crucial for him to get a first place rather than second. So they swap round and Gio is back down to second. We're there in third. You can see we're actually pushing away from Albon, who definitely, you can see there, has damage on his front left side of the front wing, but for now he actually maintains the gap and the track position ahead of Wehrlein and Esteban Ocon in the Renault that was. So very interesting safety car restart. A lot of cars out of position as we now watch on Giovinazzi re-pass Gasly for the race lead. So those two swapping like yo-yos. Meanwhile behind you've got Wehrlein going 3 wide into 130R with the Renault of Ocon here, and the Renault placing real high now. We obviously know the Renault car has been having some upgrades as of late, but I think they've definitely been helped out by the safety car and potentially also the just general chaos that was ensued from Van Dorn's crash, because I think that's Vettel, the lead Audi, with some damage as well, holding people up. There is Carlos Sainz. He just got past one of the Aston Martin cars, making his way through along with that man Daniel Ricciardo, my teammate, also now tucked up behind. But look at this now, train forming ahead behind of Sebastian Vettel. Look at that, Vettel's got damage on the right hand side of his front wing, so a lot of damage being played out here at the Japanese Grand Prix. It's been a bit of a messy one for all drivers involved, and so that's going to change how the race maybe goes on through this one as people get stuck behind other cars and maybe get stuck in traffic and have more tyre when they wanted to. We'll have to see how it goes, but for us, we are now closing up to the two Red Bulls. Lap number 10, we just saw Gasly try to get back at Giovinazzi. He's now going for it, and here we go, the double toe. Can we make a double pass maybe on both Red Bulls? We've got one of Giovinazzi. Can we go around the outside of Gasly? Now we've tried it. Gasly gets the elbows out though and pushes us out wide, and so we have to stick behind in second place, just about keeping ahead of Giovinazzi as he's right on the back. It looks like the Red Bull car supreme in dirty air, it would seem, to follow other cars there, because Giovinazzi hangs on the back of us. But now, can we go and battle Gasly for the first time properly in this season? Round number 9, the Japanese Grand Prix. We're going to go wheel to wheel for the race lead. Can we try and get the lead away from Gasly? Round the outside. Oh, it's so close through 130R there. Tyres practically touching at like 150 miles per hour plus. We're going to try and go for the switchback on the left-hand side there. Gasly's going to get a good exit, and he actually comes in for the pit stop then. So Gasly feigning out of that, opting for the clean air then, and meanwhile me and Giovinazzi continue on. So probably a good idea, to be honest, from Gasly to get some clean air, because now myself and Giovinazzi going side by side through the spoon curve, which is obviously a lovely sight to see, but not too great in terms of us losing time to Gasly and also the cars around us. But it's going to happen as we go down towards 130R. Giovinazzi in the slipstream there, doesn't even need any DRS here with these lightweight cars, and we go side by side once again with a Red Bull, this time with Gio, our championship rival, in the standings, and we're going to maintain the right hand side down the inside. It's going to be very close to be lock up. We're going to be side by side through the last corner, and then we're going to both dive into the pit lane. I think we are, and Giovinazzi thankfully is going to duck out of that. I thought for a second there we might end up going side by side into the pit lane, which would have been very awkward indeed, but we're now both in for that one and only pit stop now, because of course, like I said, with this safety car, that's changed things. No longer probably a 2-stop plan, at least for me. It's going to be a 1-stop, and I think the same thing for Giovinazzi there, as he's onto a set of medium wall yellow wall tyres, the same as me. So that was the Audi going past. There is Gasly, so we've actually lost a decent amount of time there battling Giovinazzi, and he continues on, because in the same exact part of the circuit towards 130R, he's just so supreme at keeping up with me in Sector 2. That Red Bull car can follow other cars cars so well compared to others, and so he's just pressurizing us so much on lap number 13 as we go through. You can see on the right-hand side, on the heads-up display, we don't have too much ERS to play around with as well, so that's hampering us every single time because I'm using so much ERS on the main straight and towards 130R to try and maintain the straight line speed. But even despite that, with DRS, that Red Bull Porsche car is just way too quick, and he's passed on the right-hand side. I have a little half-hearted look into turn 1. Doesn't work out, and so Giovinazzi is up the order, and we have to try and recompose ourselves and try and actually build back some ERS, really. So we might have to sit back behind Giovinazzi for a few laps, try and re-get that electrical energy, and then we can try and push again and try and close up to him. But right now, it's Gasly in first place, then Giovinazzi in second, myself in third place. Behind me is Charles Leclerc in the monster Mercedes car. Done a brilliant job there. Then is Pascal Wehrlein, but it was going to be, would be Pascal Wehrlein, but now he's got an engine failure as the car goes up in smokes. It's been a real torrid time for the Porsche cars, as now Albon slips through, as well as Sergio Perez in the BMW. You know, Porsche, the works team, they made so many upgrades this season. The cars are fantastic. Over one lap in so many instances in the hands of Pascal Wehrlein, but yet again, they're dealt an unlucky blow in the race, because remember, Lando Norris, he's already out of this Grand Prix, so it's a double DNF for the Porsche works team. So I guess that's a very harsh welcome to Formula 1 in their first season in the sport, of course. So as things stand then, this is Ricciardo and Sainz. They're around P11 to P9, so they're just about in the points paying position, so they could still come back through for some decent points. So if you're wondering if Sainz's championship hopes are maybe in the mud, there's still hope for him yet. It's a long way to go still in this Grand Prix. We've got a long second stint left, and that's good news for me, obviously, as well, because we're still trying to close up and keep up with this man Giovinazzi and trying to get back at him for P2. And so it takes a bit of patience from us to sit back and try and harvest that ERS energy. By lap number 17 then, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and now we're ready to maybe try and make a pass again and do battle. But it seems like this Red Bull's actually so quick overall that we're just going to probably end up battling him the entire race, really. So it's going to be a long effort to try and get this P2, but we'll try our best as we come through 130R. We're going to stick behind him on purpose here and break a little bit earlier just to stick behind him and get the DRS, basically, because there's no point trying to overtake him into that chicane, because he'll just get a great run off this corner and re-overtake me into turn 1. So we'll try and do exactly that to him. And so here we go, overtake mode, rich mix, DRS, and we do waltz past him. So, the car does have the potential to get past him, but, like I said, through the corners, that Red Bull just seems to keep up with the other cars so much better than others. And so Giovinazzi just constantly on my rear end as soon as we overtake him. Meanwhile, we've got here Sainz. He's already passed Ricciardo, and now he's going to go for the double pass on Verstappen, I think that is, and onto the BMW of Sergio Perez, and it's an overtake on the BMW. The Ferrari maintains the position for now. I think that's Verstappen, or it might be Mick Schumacher. Can't quite tell from this camera angle here, but Sainz has already made 2 overtakes then on Ricciardo and the BMW, and now he comes through with DRS on the main straight and flies past the Ferrari. So Sainz is making up positions here. So he's made a few there. He's only now behind, I think it's Alexander Albon ahead of him, and then Leclerc, and then the next car is myself, actually. So Sainz is only 2 positions back behind me, or 3 rather, because obviously Giovinazzi is actually behind me for now, but for how much longer? Because now Gio, once again, it's deja vu. Look at this through the spoon curves. It's literally the same exact move here, but this time Giovinazzi's actually waltzed around the outside. He's had the grip to do it, and so we end up actually rubbing his rear left tyre. They're getting very close and frosty here as we jockey for position, pulling back alongside him through 130R side by side once again. Can we try and squeeze him out into the chicane? Yes, we can, but now this is actually not where I want to be, because this is exactly what he can try and exploit. The run off the last corner, DRS for him, even though I'm on hot lap mode, overtake mode. Can we maintain the position? Let's see. Actually, you know what? He's actually had a pretty poor run off the last corner. So for now, it's a rare sight, but on lap number 19, we're actually able to keep the position into turn 1. That's equally going to have its own problems, because we move on to sector 3 of that lap, and Giovinazzi's now in a prime position to overtake me towards 130R overtake mode, but he's got the speed in a straight line, and so once again, for like the 3rd or 4th time, we swing round that high-speed corner, side by side with the Red Bull. This time we'll go early on the brakes, switch back, move on the left-hand side, try and get a better exit. Massive amount of oversteer though, and you can see chopping away at the steering wheel, just about hanging on there, as maybe the tyre wear is coming in now for us on the medium tyres, but we're going to still have the speed with the DRS to overtake the Italian and get back up into P2 as we ride on board briefly with Giovinazzi, and as he looks ahead, we are back up into that position position, but now he goes again in the same part of the circuit. But now look at this. This is just awkward. You can see Leclerc is closing up on us. So we've been fighting so much that this two-way fight may become a three-way fight, maybe even a four-way fight soon enough, because Alexander Albon is in the distance there as well as we go defensive on Giovinazzi. Leclerc, look at him go! He's tried it. He's side by side with the Italian through the last corner. Giovinazzi maintains the P3, but now Leclerc is nose to tail, and there's also Alexander Albon. So it's going to become a four-way fight for P2. All three of them with DRS, and now this is very, very awkward indeed. Oh, bit of contact made left and right, either side of me there, as we graze tyres with Albon and Giovinazzi. We're now down to P5, side by side with Leclerc, just about get that position back, but in a flash there, it's all changed and on his head, and Albon now is in P2. The man who starred last Grand Prix for getting P2 out of nowhere is in P2 once again ahead of Giovinazzi. That was a really tricky situation to handle, because I saw Albon on the left of me coming at a rate of knots, and there was no way, if I kept my foot into turn one, there would have been a crash. Instead, I had to back out that, and we were so close to still coming into a crash, because I had contact on the left-hand side with Albon's rear right tyre, and I had contact on the right-hand side with Giovinazzi's rear left tyre. So it was so close. Thankfully, we've made it through, but now we're a little bit further back behind this fight, and instead we're defending from Leclerc for P5, or P4 rather, and instead it's Albon and Giovinazzi who are fighting for P3 and P2 respectively. Now, also, you can maybe just see in the camera angle there, I think the flash of the red and white of Carlos Sainz, so he's coming back into this Grand Prix slowly but surely, as these two now swap positions. Giovinazzi back up into P2 ahead of Albon, and there you can see Leclerc has overtaken me. So the Mercedes car looking very decent actually in this late on stage of the Grand Prix, and so we're down to P5, and so this man, Carlos Sainz, he was way out the way of the Grand Prix. He's now slowly come back into this, and he's only one position behind me now. So this is going to get very interesting, as now you can see into the hairpin, Leclerc brake checking me. So he's been up a real good fight here and being a real nuisance to myself in this race, and also the championship fight, remember, as well, because these are crucial points we've lost now as we're down to P5, trying to find a way around the outside at Spoon, and we do it. We're up into P4, but for how much longer? Because that Mercedes car actually looks pretty damn decent in a straight line here with DRS at least, and now as we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, there goes Leclerc once again, and he's passed us, but we're on to the last lap now, so this is it. We need to try and pass him and get it finished. So we're in this same exact position we were in on the previous lap, going towards Spoon Curve, but this time we're going to try and stick behind and get the move done at 130R and not give him a chance. But as we do that, that man you saw there briefly, Gasly, goes through the last few corners to go towards a great victory for him, his first of this season. Meanwhile, fighting for P2, Giovinazzi versus Albon, and Albon trying his best but not quite. So it looks like it may just be a 1-2 for Red Bull as we now go down the inside at 130R on the last lap of the Grand Prix to get up into P4. It will be Pierre Gasly that wins the Grand Prix, Giovinazzi second, Albon in P3, but we get it done right at the end for P4, and Sainz finishes up in P6. But this is the man who's victorious around Suzuka, Pierre Gasly. It's been a long old season for him. It's not been a great one, but he's finally got a win that he maybe deserves. Looking back at the performances he's had in qualifying and in the races before, he's had some bad luck. So he wins the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 for Red Bull. Massive performance for them. Giovinazzi does so well there at the end of the last lap to hold off Albon, who looks like a new man. He looks like he's stepped into this leadership role now at Jaguar, when his way more senior teammates had such bad luck in 2 DNFs in a row from Canada to Japan. Like I said, us in P4 there, head of Leclerc. Sainz recovers really well for P6, so that keeps his foot in the championship fight, just about going on to the next round, which is the Australian Grand Prix. Ricciardo rounds it out with Schumacher, Perez, and George Russell in the second Mercedes car. So actually some really decent race pace for the Mercedes cars in that second phase of the Grand Prix. And then surprisingly, the 2 Aston Martin racing cars are the ones in P11 and P12 for the last points paid position. So that actually technically means, I think, with Callum Ilott scoring points, every single driver in this season now has scored at least 1 point point this season. So great to see. Surprised though the Renaults didn't capitalize on their early good pace. Ocon just fell away in that Grand Prix and he's in P13. Vettel then P14. Aitken, Verstappen, Verline and Lando Norris obviously with those 2 DNFs for Porsche, and then Van Dorn and Lundgaard as well. So a few casualties, a very messy Grand Prix actually, with a lot of contact made, but in the end of it then, this is what it means for the championship. Going towards the last 2 rounds, Antonio Giovinazzi leads the way once again by 1 point to myself. Sainz then a little bit further back with 119 points in P3, but like I said, he's still got his foot in the door for the championship fight. He could still, do something at Australia and set that up for the finale then. But we are definitely then the 3 championship contenders going into the last 2 rounds. Albon now is up into P4. He's catapulted himself up so well there. He's swapped positions basically with Van Dorn in the championship, because Van Dorn used to be P4, he was P7, and they swapped positions there. So mega stuff there for the rookie debutant this season. Mega stuff out of Ricardo Schumacher. Gasly gets up into the top 12 once again now in P9, level on points with Leclerc after his race victory. So he'll be pleased with that, at least to at least recover some sort of face in this championship and remind everyone how good of a driver he has been in the F1 MyDriver career. Championship wise for the constructors, we still lead the way, but now Red Bull, after a great 1-2, get up into P2 ahead of Audi. Jaguar down to P4, so it's all still to play for. I'm pretty sure all 3 of those top teams, and even 4 actually, could technically still turn this around and win the constructors. So that's also equally going to be just as interesting as the drivers fight. Ferrari maintain P5 ahead of BMW. Mercedes jump Porsche to get into P7. So Porsche, even though they've had a really great set of results in qualifying and whatnot, like I said earlier on in the race, maybe a kind of a harsh reality check of their first season in Formula 1, so they can't really get away from that P8 position just ahead of Renault and Aston Martin. But what a Japanese Grand Prix, a race that probably would have been fitting of a finale race, but instead has set up a great remaining 2 episodes in this season and series, guys. If you guys did enjoy that one, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly follow-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.